Once in Kailash, Shiva was teaching Parvati the secrets of yoga. Together they danced the cosmic dance. A fish who had swallowed a fisherman came upon them by chance and stopped to watch. As Shiva revealed the secrets of yoga to Parvati, the man inside the fish also listened carefully. When Shiva realized they were not alone, he was pleased and continued to teach the fish. He named the man Matsyendranath after the fish he was in. Shiva then sent him back to teach the world yoga. And this is how Hatha Yoga came into being.
This story is the story of how Hatha Yoga comes into being. And yet it tells a much deeper esoteric story, which is the whole basis upon which not only Hatha Yoga, but Tantra, Sri Vidya, Kali, Kula, all are syncretic forms of. And when one realizes that you are part of a bigger story, of a dialogue between Shiva, which is pure consciousness, the meditative consciousness, and Shakti, which is the energy that comes into being, that activates all matter, all prana into being, into forms, into bodies, into minds. The entire dialogue begins with Shakti asking Shiva a question. She says, when you meditate and you close your eyes, what is it you see? What is it that is at the center of the universe? What is it that is the seed from which everything becomes? What is it that lies beyond space and time and death? What is it that makes us all who we are, and how do we realize our true nature? And so matter, energy, form is asking consciousness, what is it that you see that I can't, that I am heading towards? And in the human being, this was always seen as the Kundalini, rising from the darkness of the base of our animal nature, matter, right through to the spiritual realms of consciousness, of no form, of Shiva. So this dialogue between Shiva and Shakti was the foundation upon which all of these teachings were then built. Now, this was written in the 8th and 9th century, compiled together in Kashmir. And this is where we get Kashmir Shaivism from, this is where we get the Nath Sampradaya from, this is where we get most of the syncretic teachings that we find that spread all over North India, and a lot of the South Indian teachings as well. And if you think about it, this was a syncretic coming together of Shaivism ideas, Shaktiism ideas, Devi worship ideas, Buddhism, Jainism, yoga, all these ideas that had been floating around India for hundreds, if not thousands of years, were brought together. And Shiva's dialogue with Shakti is these teachings, but not in the form of theory or philosophy, but in the form of 112 meditations that one could use to arrive at that consciousness that Shiva is. These 112 meditations were meant to address any kind of awakening. It was a beautiful idea, and this is a fundamental thesis upon which Tantra was built upon. Because the whole idea of Tantra was that, can anything I do in this world, food, sexuality, dance, music, breath, observation, seeing, beauty, all these things, can they wake me up to my true nature? Can they awaken in me a sense of the wonder of it all? And this was the whole thesis upon which these 112 meditations were. Whether you were an ascetic who was withdrawing from the world and doing strict Hatha Yoga Pradipika work and doing asanas and withdrawing your seminal fluid and becoming Shakti and Shiva up there, or whether you were living in the world and dancing and making love and eating beautiful food and thinking beautiful thoughts and enjoying beauty, this covered the entire spectrum. That means meditation becomes like breath, like being. This was the entire thesis. And when one realizes that the dance between Shiva and Shakti, in fact it's always called a dance, because Shiva, the concept of Shiva, was always dancing by himself at first. And when he started dancing by itself, then Shakti comes into being and manifests everything in the universe around us. And this beautiful idea of Shiva and Shakti's union is the continuous dance in our body, in cosmos, in earth. And so we, who are yogis and tantrics, are looking to connect our earth nature with our heavenly nature through this body. And the body becomes the temple. Whether you do it through yoga, or whether you do it through Sri Vidya mantra and yantras and mandalas, or whether you do it through pure Kundalini awakening and Shakti, or whether you do it through actions in the world, or whether you do it through art and beauty and singing, or whether you do it through erotic love and making love to someone or yourself in a divine way, or whether you do it through creative acts or acting in the world in different ways. I wanted to share with you that this path is a path of beauty and yet understanding that death is inevitable, darkness is everywhere, but from that darkness, from the earth, we can emerge into light and beauty. And this is the teaching of Tantra. So when you study the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which was the name of the greatest teaching that came out of that series, the entire set of works was called the Rudra Yamla Tantra. But the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra is one of the most beautiful pieces of meditative poetry you will ever read. And if you ever get a chance, do read it. And this is the dialogue between Shiva and Shakti, where Shiva tries to answer Shakti's question. In the early teachings, this was also a dialogue, not just between Shiva and Shakti, but between an aspect of Shiva and Shakti called Bhairav and Bhairavi. And why Bhairav and Bhairavi? Because Bhairavi is the goddess of death that sits at the yoni, at the base of your body and the earth. So you can imagine her in earth. She comes out of darkness, and out of this darkness emerges this Shakti. She is also called Kundalini Shakti. Bhairavi sits at the base. So Bhairavi, Shakti, is asking Shiva, Bhairav, at above the threshold of the crown chakra, and asking Bhairav this question. And Bhairav represents death here. At the throat and at the head, Bhairav represents death. Because at the moment of death, it is Bhairav who comes to you and gives you your whole picture of your life and takes you to the other side, or puts you back down into the samsara of life. Bhairav is death. Bhairav is Shiva's auspicious destroyer of form. And when Bhairav sits there, he is also in darkness, in that vast nothingness of space. And that is why we are going from one darkness through light in our bodies up to the ultimate light here, into that vast shunya, that nothingness of Shiva. And that is Bhairav, that dark Kala Bhairav. And when you go there, you want to be fearless and free. So all these teachings also make you fearless of death, fearless of pain, fearless of anything. You become this middle pillar that lets you climb from darkness to darkness. So what happens when Shiva and Shakti dialogue occurs? This beautiful movement occurs, a movement of Shakti as Bhairavi at the base of your body as Kundalini rises up through these techniques of 112 ways of meditation to meet Bhairav at the top here and form a union. And that is the union and the dance of Shiva and Shakti. In the dialogues between Shiva and Shakti, we go through different phases of meditation. We start with breath, which is the fundamental core of which how prana, this energy, life force around us, flows around us, through the body, and gives us this energy that we need to awaken our consciousness. In Tantra and Yoga, they believe that by increasing prana, increasing that core life force inside us through the Ida, Pingala, Nadis and the Shushumna, we can wake up that superconscious Shiva mind of ours. Now that means that one cannot be weak to awaken consciousness. One has to be strong. One has to be vital. So these first 9 to 15 teachings of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra are how to breathe. And it is said that this Nabi breath, the breath used in Tibetan Buddhism or all techniques of Nabi breathing, is to take a point away from your nose, about 12 fingers, about here, at about a 30-degree angle down, and to look at it. And gazing in that direction, you gaze in that direction and you meditate. And this meditation, open-eyed, with the ha sound coming in and a sa sound going out. Sa, hum, sa, hum, sa. Ha is the sound of Shiva exploding in your third eye and coming in, and sa is the sound of Shakti returning from full body to the Bindu point at the top of your head. And you meditate on this ha and sa. And as you meditate, watch the breath go in, coming into your stomach, your navel, and watch it going out. Breathing out with your nose. Breathing in. In is called prana, and out is apana. Breathing into your stomach, fill your belly with air. And then when you breathe in, hold it for a second in your belly. And in that space of the holding, awakening can occur. Release. And hold it out. And in that space, awakening can occur. So when this breath comes into you, you come alive. And when it goes out of you, you die again into the nothingness of consciousness. This in-breath and this out-breath is the entire meditation. In fact, this is the fundamental on which Zen is built, is this breathing technique of the hara, of the nabi breath. And when you breathe in and you hold the breath, it is in those stages of hold that the mind can go completely still, whether you hold in or you hold out. Try it out. And then you move your mind up to the third eye, and you can rub the place of between the eyebrows. And at that point, you look up, and you will see a light forming there as you rub it, a swirling galaxy, and that is the first glimpse of Shiva consciousness. And if you keep looking, showers of petals of light will start falling. Imagine them falling. And let them come into you from above, from the Sahasrara at the top of your head. Let them come in. And as they float downward, you see the shower of light coming into you. And then a beam comes in. And you bring that beam of light, white beam with a bluish tinge, right down to your heart. And you open the lotus petal. And at the heart is where the greatest dance between Shiva and Shakti happens. We feel the vibration of Shiva and Shakti in our heart, in a white lotus petal with a golden linga all around us. And just enjoy the bliss of that moment as the light comes into you from above, from Bhairavi below, from Bhairav above, and opens in your heart and makes you fully human.